Yo, what is up, guys? It's Pedro here. Today I'm making a video on why I think the Washington Redskins are a team on the rise in the NFL and why I think they're one of the up and coming teams in the NFL. If you guys are new, subscribe for Redskins and NFL content. So let's get into it. And if you guys have friends from other teams, go ahead and share this video to them to show them why the Redskins are an up and coming team. And I did see a video similar to this, so I'm going to link it in the description. It was from a couple months ago. So let's get started. As you guys all know, the Redskins finished with a 3-13 record last year. They fired Jay Gruden in the middle of the season, and then after the season was over, they hired Ron Rivera as their head coach and also fired Bruce Allen. Ron Rivera proceeded to go and hire one of the best defensive coordinators in Jack Del Rio. So he went from Jay Gruden and Bill Callahan as our coaches for the year to Ron Rivera, two-time coach of the year, and we went from Greg Manusky, probably the worst defensive coordinator in the NFL, to Jack Del Rio, who is probably the best, if not the best, probably behind Robert Saleh, probably a top 3, top 5 defensive coordinator in the NFL. So our coaching staff improved a lot. We did end up hiring Scott Turner as our offensive coordinator, who I also like. I do like Kevin O'Connell as well, so I think we broke even there. I think we didn't improve, but we also didn't regress there. But I really like the hire of Ron Rivera and Jack Del Rio. Greg Manusky was just terrible last year. We could not have gone into this season with Greg Manusky as our defensive coordinator, especially after drafting Chase Young. Imagine having Chase Young dropping back in coverage like 33% of the snaps. That would be absolutely terrible. So I'm just super happy we got Jack Del Rio because I think he's going to help our defense out a lot, especially since we're switching to a 4-3. Our defensive line is going to be insane. So yeah, we hired Ron Rivera and he ended up going in free agency and signed a couple players familiar to him. He signed Thomas Davis, and we also brought back Kendall Fuller, who I think is going to be a very good cornerback for us in the years to come. We'll still see if he's going to play slot or on the outside, but I think it's going to be a really good signing for us, and I think he's going to prove a lot of people wrong. So yeah, now on to another reason why I think we're an up-and-coming team in the NFL. Our young core, we have a really good young core on offense and on defense. On offense, we got Dwayne Haskins as our potential franchise quarterback, and then at running back, we got a bunch of running backs. Bryce Love, Darius Geis, Antonio Gibson. Yes, they are unproven, but a lot of those guys have super good potential and could potentially be a Pro Bowler type of player. And then at wide receiver, we have a lot of talent. We already have one of the best rookie, probably the best rookie wide receiver in the NFL from last year in Terry McLaurin, and I think he's going to be a Pro Bowler this year. We also got Steven Sims, who, if you just look at the numbers, he didn't have a great year last year, but when he was on the field the last 4 games, he had about 230 yards, and those were the only games in the whole season in his rookie year that he got targeted 5 or more times, and he got 230 yards. So if you multiply that by 4, which would get you to 16 games, that puts him on pace for about 930 yards. And do I think he's going to get 930 yards? Maybe not, but I think he can get 750 plus and like 7-8 touchdowns. I think he's going to be a beast for us, and he's still on a small contract. And then we also got Kelvin Harmon and Antonio Gandy Golden, both receivers that can play on the outside, both guys with a lot of potential. Kelvin Harmon also had a really good year. He played really well with Dwayne Haskins. He has very good chemistry with Dwayne Haskins. He in the last few games, just like Steven Sims, played a lot better. He didn't have as good of chemistry with Case Keenum because he was training with Dwayne Haskins in the preseason and in before the season started in training camp, because Dwayne Haskins was the backup and so is Kelvin Harmon. So they were training together and they have really good chemistry. And of course, Dwayne Haskins has good chemistry with Terry McLaurin. And I think our wide receiver core is going to shock a lot of people this year, especially if Dwayne Haskins can take that jump. I think our wide receiver core is going to be not necessarily one of the best, but I think definitely above average, because a lot of people have us as one of the worst. I do not think so, and we'll see how they take a jump in 2020. And now on to Dwayne Haskins. As you guys all know, Dwayne Haskins had an up and down year, but the most important thing with Dwayne Haskins and why I think he can be a good quarterback for us in the future is the improvement over time. In college, he got better as the year went on. In his only year as a starter, where he threw about 54 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. Same thing in the preseason this year. Against the Browns, he threw 3 interceptions in his first game and kept on getting better and better until the final game against the Ravens, where he played really well. And same thing in this regular season. He started against the Giants. Well, he didn't start the game, but that was his first game that he played, and he got thrown in there. Really no help. Brandon Sheriff was out. Terry McLaurin was out. Had no weapons, no offensive line, and played terrible. He also, Jay Gruden didn't believe in him, and he didn't have any practice time with the first team. So he threw 9 passes, completed 9 passes for out of 17 and for 100 yards and 3 interceptions. So played absolutely terrible in his first game, and kind of the same in Minnesota. Didn't play much, but went in there, threw 5 passes, completed 3 of them, and 1 interception, and then in week 9, sorry, in his third game, that was his first game as a starter, and he played okay. 15 completions in 22 passes, 68% completion percentage, 144 yards, and that was against the Bills defense, which was one of the best defenses in the NFL. So he played pretty good against them. And against the Jets, he played okay. 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, not bad at all, but he kept on getting better. And then against Detroit, he didn't necessarily, the stats didn't show that he played well, but he stepped up in the big moments and got us a win. Same thing in Carolina, and then in Green Bay, 1 touchdown and 1 interception, but was hurt. And then in Philly, he threw 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and same thing against the Giants when he was hurt. So he just got better and better as the season went on, and I think that's going to carry over to next year. And he's been putting in a lot of work, and I think Dwayne Haskins can be a franchise quarterback. Threw 7 touchdowns and 3 interceptions as a starter, so that's better than a 2-to-1 touchdown ratio, and his record wasn't that bad when he was a starter. He was 2-5 as a starter, so not terrible, especially on a team that went 3-13 in the regular season. So I think he has a bright future, and if he does have a bright future, the Redskins as a whole are going to have a really good future just because they have the young offensive core around Haskins. They do need to shore up the offensive line and the tight end position, but they're working on that. And then on defense, they already got a decent defense this year. So now onto the defensive core. The Redskins last year, even though they ranked as a 21st ranked defense, I believe, or maybe 27th, they were top 10 in sacks last year. So they were right up there. They were, I think, 8 sacks away from first place for leading the league in sacks. And I think they can do that this year. And I know sacks isn't everything, but it does help. And I think with the addition of Chase Young and Jack Del Rio as our defensive coordinator, I think our defense is going to improve immensely. I think we're going to be a top 5 team in sacks. And I think our defense can be like top 15 at the very worst. That's my goal. Just be top 15 because we have not had an above average defense in a long time. But I do think we have the personnel on defense to be a top 10 defense this year. And we got Jonathan Allen, who last year didn't play amazing, but still had 6 sacks and was kind of playing hurt. And I think he's going to benefit the most from having Chase Young. I think he could get around 9 to 10 sacks. He's one of my possible breakout players of the year. And then also, you got Matt Ionitis, who's one of the most underrated players in the NFL. Had another high sack season with 8.5 sacks last year, so he was an absolute beast. You still got Ryan Kerrigan, and you got Montez Sweat and Chase Young on the outside, and Daron Payne in the inside. So I think our defensive line is going to be just fine. Probably a top 3 defensive line. You got to give the edge to the 49ers. We're not proven, so you got to give them the edge at the number 1 spot, especially after drafting Javon Kinlaw. But I think we're right up there with them, and I think we can have. I think our defensive line can carry our defense as a whole. Our linebackers are pretty good. Cole Holcomb, Reuben Foster, Sean Dion Hamilton, Thomas Davis. You got a nice young core there besides Thomas Davis. And I think Thomas Davis, John Bostic, and these veterans can help groom Cole Holcomb, Reuben Foster, these young linebackers. And our cornerbacks, too. We got a decent. Our cornerbacks are young. They're not proven. We got Jimmy Moreland, Kendall Fuller, and then Ronald Darby and Fabian Moreau. So we got some developmental pieces, but if they don't work out, we have a lot of cap space, which I'm going to go into next, and we can get a few big time players there. And at safety, we got Landon Collins and Sean Davis. I'm good with our safety position. So I think that young core can end up being a top 5 defense in the NFL for years to come. The last thing I have to say is we have so much cap space. We have $36.5 million in cap space right now for the remainder of this season, second most in the NFL, and that some of that does carry over to next year. We're currently behind the Browns with the most cap space, and next year we're going to even have more cap space because we're going to be able to cut Alex Smith, and that's going to save about $13 million. And there's a few others that come off the books. So we're going to have a lot of cap space, and there's players like Jalen Ramsey, Patrick Peterson, Marlon Humphrey, Joe Hayden, Shaquille Griffin, a bunch of players that could be free agents next year that we could end up signing. Someone like Jalen Ramsey or Patrick Peterson would probably make our defense a top 3 defense, assuming our defense plays pretty good this year. And then you got on the offensive line, there's a really good offensive line class for free agency. You got Ronnie Stanley, David Bakhtari, Trent Williams, Joe Thuney, Alejandro Villanueva, Brandon Sheriff, Larry Warford. Larry Warford just got cut, but there's a bunch of really good tackles that we can go after if stuff doesn't work out with this year. With Morgan Moses and maybe Sadiq Charles, but I think Sadiq Charles is safe. And then also at tight end, you got George Kittle, Hunter Henry, and then Jared Cook, and there's a couple others that might get their 5th-year option picked up. But there's some really good free agents next year at positions that we need: cornerback, tackle, and tight end. So I think if we need to upgrade, we can go and upgrade there or upgrade in the draft. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. I really do think the Redskins are an up-and-coming team. We have a really young core on offense and defense. We got really good coaching, and most importantly, Bruce Allen is gone. We got Kyle Smith as he's not necessarily a GM, but he's acting as a GM before he officially gets named it. So yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and hopefully the Redskins are contenders for years to come after the season. Peace.